Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. We've got a hot day here in Alabama. We're going to be in the 90s. We've got some rain coming later on today. I haven't been on in a little while, and my apologies. Everybody's fine. I appreciate all the concern and comments. Jan's doing fine. She's just busy with being a nurse and getting her strength back. She has a couple appointments coming up in the next week or two, and if they go well, which I'm sure they will, they're going to be scheduling to get her port out of her chest, and she can put this cancer business behind her once and for all. Myself, I'm having really bad, that's the reason I haven't been on, I'm having really bad balance issues, to a point where I can't hardly even walk, much less pick up a camera and walk around. So today I can speak and walk at the same time, I hope. So I've got the camera in hand, and I thought I'd give you a quick update. But I do appreciate all the comments. Mr. Jackson came by the other day and brought me some beautiful pieces of driftwood. This one was so pretty, I went ahead and put a clip on it. And I'm not looking to get more orchids, but this one is just so beautiful, it just deserves one. Look at the carving job Mother Nature did on that piece. All I did was put a small hole and attach my clip to it. But just what a beautiful, beautiful piece of wood, carved. That should make a really nice home for a mini fowl or something. It's hollow all the way through, just beautiful. Mr. Jackson is an avid outdoorsman, avid hunter. He's outside all the time walking in the woods and stuff, and he gets around pretty good for a 70 plus year old guy. I bring him on. He's a little camera shy. I bring him on, but he's got a really deep voice and looks like I'm Sam Elliott. Just an incredible gentleman, just an incredible gentleman. Beautiful pieces of wood. Some of them I'm not quite sure if I can use them or not. That piece, I think, that one's just dying for a big phalaenopsis or something, putting that one. That is a pretty, pretty piece. This one's a little bit heavy, a little big. I'm not sure if I can use that, but we'll see. This one, if I cut off that little limb right here, the rest of it is hollow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful piece of wood. Mother Nature really worked on that one, so I have to check it out and see if it's look it over a little bit, and one afternoon we'll get the saw, get the wire, get the tools, and we'll make a few mounts possibly. Everybody's doing great, just growing. The sansevierias are blooming like crazy. Have lots of bloom spikes popping out on them. They'll be really, really fragrant. The Hoyas are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Loving this warm sunshine and all the rain. Just getting so big. The staghorn is getting monstrous. It's covering itself up with new fronds and new pods. It grows those little plates, and they just overlap each other and keep overlapping and keep overlapping and keep overlapping until it's just covered itself in those green pods over and over and over. And they build up and build up layer after layer after layer until it's 5.5 feet wide and it weighs 300 pounds, and you have to get your friends to come over and help move it a couple times a year. What a beast of a plant. What a beast of a plant. Anyway, the plants are doing wonderful. They're all growing and doing great. I'm just been taking advantage of all the rain we've been getting and coming out and spraying and spraying and spraying. It's worked out really, really well for them. Some new color, a few new blooms. You know, and one of the things I got asked about, I don't have a lot of blooms, and part of that is because I think most of my plants were bag babies and, rescues. They're not mature enough. Some of them are just now starting to get mature enough, I think, and those are the ones that are starting to bloom. Oncidiums, dendrobiums, phalaenopsis, they all bloom from the current growth, the growth that matures very, very quickly, and so they bloom very repetitively and often, and as young plants even. Cattleyas and some other plants need to get a little more maturity on them before they get big enough or old enough to bloom. This real pretty one, beautiful flower. It's starting to fade. It's been open for about 2 weeks now. The bees have been banging on it, banging on it, banging on it, and so they've got it beat up a little bit. But this is Cattleya Volcano Clown, Volcano Queen. Super, super fragrant. Has a really strong, spicy cinnamon scent. The whole patio smells like cinnamon out here. It's really, really something. Really pretty flower. This one is a huge one. This is about 5.5 inches, almost 6 inches across. This is, I think this one's been renamed. Patanera, Pocky Pocky, and I think it's now a RLC. I think it's been renamed. No fragrance really, just a floral type scent to it, but just such a huge, beautiful flower. Just beautiful. And more flower spikes. The epicats are starting to bloom, sends flower spikes out. That pretty yellow one with the little purple freckles on the lip is BL Yellowbird. First time bloomer for me, real pretty one. And this red one, which is fading a little bit, but still going strong, is Oncidium Wildcat, Golden Red Star. And just a beautiful, beautiful little spike on that one. We've got a Sherry baby down here. We repotted several weeks back, almost a month ago. It's got a 4-foot flower spike. That flower spike's at least 4 feet long on it. Still growing. Still growing. All the plants are doing wonderful. The slipper plant's got new growth. All the phals are growing like crazy. Lots of leaves, lots of new shoots. Lots of new roots popping out. This is Bulbophyllum Wilbur Chang with a big, big new growth on it too. This one, the last time it gave me a growth, grew very, very slowly. This one's growing much, much more rapidly, and I believe it has to do with the kelp and seaweed, the hormones I've been giving them. Seems to be responding from it. But this is another new bloomer. This is BLC Hawaii Stars Pink Lace. Just a really pretty one. Has a nice little fragrance to it also. Really pretty plant. I notice there's more blooms back here. That's, I'm not sure which one that is with the double blooms right there. That is BLC Mary's Glory, yeah. Dendrobium with new growths on it, and also has a flower spike that's starting to open. This is an antelope variety. It's a greenish yellow kind of variety color. Be pretty when it opens. But all the plants are growing. Like I said, I'm just trying to keep up with all the growth on them. Trying to keep up with all those new shoots that are just popping out everywhere. That's BLC Hawaiian Ruby Paradise Purple. Really pretty plant. I love the growth on it. Nice tight growth pattern on it. And just look at the shoots coming out. Just beautiful, beautiful. They're all doing that. They're all growing like crazy. A Wanagara apple blossom with a big new growth on it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I can smell that cinnamon in the air right now. Anyway, like I said before, I'm just feeding, trying to keep up with them all. They're all growing, doing really, really well. In Sickleys, lots of growth on those as well. Lots of new shoots. One of the things I will mention is I've got a lot of questions lately about using those time-release fertilizers, Osmocote. And I've had a lot of people send me pictures of their plants, wondering what's going on. I'm having trouble with my plants, and I noticed in the photographs they're using Osmocote. There's nothing wrong with that fertilizer. It's a great fertilizer. All fertilizers are great, is in knowing how to use them. Keep in mind those are time-release fertilizers, and really what they are, they're temperature-release fertilizers. You put them in your pot and they give off a little bit of food, and as temperatures get warmer they give off a little bit more, they give off a little bit more, and as temperatures get warmer and warmer they give off more and more, and when temperatures can get really, really hot they can dump excessive amounts of nutrients on your plants. And when that happens, that's fine, it's okay as long as it's not too much, but all that extra nutrient also has to have extra calcium along with it. And if you're dumping all those nutrients on your plant, or that's being dumped on your plant by the rain dissolving it and letting it drip on your plants, you've got to make sure you've got plenty of calcium behind that also, or you will definitely get some rot issues setting in. You'll definitely have some new shoots, new leaves, canes, or whatever. You're probably going to get growths that are going to grow super, super fast, and then all of a sudden start getting black streaks on them and die back. You'll get flimsy, fast-growing, soft growths with very little cell structure, and they'll end up dying back on you. Those type of nutrients are fine. The little plastic, I think they sell little plastic containers that you can stick in your pots that they can come from, or a lot of people use little mesh pouches of them and they hang them above the plants for them to drip down onto. And Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but remember, if you're giving all that nutrients, you got to give the same amount of calcium. I'm making sure, that's one thing, if I give you any advice for growing during this warm temperature, is to make sure for every bit of nitrogen you're giving them, make sure you're giving that much calcium at least. And I prefer a little bit more. If I'm giving 50 parts per million of nitrogen to my plants, I'm going to give them 60% of calcium. Or if I'm giving 50% nitrogen to my plants, or 50 parts per million of nitrogen to my plants, I'm going to give 60 parts per million of calcium to my plants. At least as much nitrogen as they're getting, plus a little bit of buffer. At least a 1-to-1 ratio, or a stronger than 1-to-1 ratio, if that makes sense. Can't give them too much calcium. You cannot. And they need it this time of year. They need it with all the root growth, with all the cell structure that they're putting out, all the new growths, new canes, new bulbs, new shoots, everything. All requires calcium to stack up those cells, And remember, I've reminded you before, remember you're growing for what's coming down the road. I'm pumping my plants and trying to keep the reserves up and get them as strong and as healthy and as fat and plumped up as I possibly can, so when they get into the cooler weather here in a few months and they start going into their bloom cycle, they'll be well prepared for it. You don't want to start feeding right when bloom cycle starts. You want to start feeding way before it. Get them fattened up, ready for bloom. So I'm already seeing plants getting a lot of new leaves, a lot of new roots on them, so they're fattening up and they're getting ready. I moved some of the phals I moved over here, and some of the smaller little seedlings, the little flask babies that I have strapped on pieces of wood. They're doing better over here with a little bit more filtered light, a little bit less stronger light. They're not so much purple on the leaves or spotting that I was noticing. For the most part, most of them have held on to their flower spikes. Some of them have not. Some of them have eaten them back to a certain point. But some of them are also putting out spikes already again. So I'm not too worried about it. I've got lots of new growth and new roots and new spikes popping out. The majority of them have held on to their leaves and they're holding on to their flower spikes. That one's even got a keiki and it's doing fine. I don't remove the keikis. I think the keikis are just a natural part of the plant. They clump up in the wild. Phalaenopsis grow into big clumps after a while. They grow keikis, and the keikis end up developing into part of the plant, so I don't remove them. I don't think it taxes the plant or harms them in any fashion at all, as long as they're being fed properly. Lots of new growth. Leaves, multiple leaves coming out. Flower spikes, still holding on to spikes. Beautiful, beautiful growth. Lovely, lovely leaves. Nice roots. Holding on to that flower spike. That's wonderful to see. Wonderful, wonderful to see. It's well established now. It's been on that mount for a year or so. It seems like it's happy. I'm going to make everybody dizzy, sorry. Anyway, everybody looks good. And we're all doing fine. We're just dealing with life. That's all I'm doing, is dealing with life. I can't thank you guys enough. I think I spent 5 hours of the day and answered, I don't know how many hundreds of questions it was. A few hours a day before that, a few hours a day before that, and I enjoy every minute of it. Thank you so much for all those wonderful, wonderful questions. Thank you for all the great comments and the thoughts, the prayers, the messages, the kind words. It just means so much to Jane and I both. It gives me so much strength. It gives me so much encouragement. And I truly love all the questions. I really do. It really just thrills me to see so many people so interested in growing and seem to be eager for information. So I'm going to get back to it. I've got plants I need to feed. I've got to water, spray some plants. I'm going to wait till evening time before I spray. I'm going to go ahead and mix up some nutrients, get ready. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And lots of love from Alabama.